Hello travelers, Boardman21 here, and today's build is the updated Void Knight Rive build that we did that was using Rive with Sigils of Hope and doing a lot of damage last patch, but now it does even more thanks to the fact that we can dual wield, and this allows for two weapons, increased damage, more attack speed, and you're just going to be able to kill things a lot quicker. Yes, you do have a trade-off, you do take 12% more damage, but the Void Knight was already pretty tanky. All we did was switch around a couple of points to get more leech, and you can still tank just about anything in the game. You can go really far in the arena, but now you just one-shot everything on the path to doing that. The bosses you can melt in just a matter of seconds. Most of the bosses we can even kill before the phase, like God Hunter or Abomination. You just have to have your echoes proc a couple of times right at the beginning and it will end them. You can take on the Emperor and finish him in under 10 seconds. This build is a beast, so if you've been wanting to play Void Knight, or you have a Void Knight and been looking for something, or you were putting last patch Void Knight Rive together, then you'll basically have exactly what you need. You'll just have to switch a weapon around or two, and then you'll be ready to go. Let's go ahead and get into the skills. For skills, we're running Smite, Rive, Sigils of Hope, Anomaly, and Lunge. For Smite, we're using this for attack speed, also for teleportation, and also it will put Ignite on the enemy, and we'll get some physical damage for that later. We have 1 point in Holy Wave, 5 points in Righteous Fury. This gives us 15 global melee fire damage, which just boosts your damage by a little bit. 5 points in Righteous Flurry. This gives us 50% more attack speed, which is huge. Now, with 1 point in Descend, this gives it a 6-second cooldown, which means that you can put it on auto cast, and as soon as you target an enemy, it'll teleport you, and it'll give you the 50% attack speed, and then you can just go to town on whoever it is you just teleported on top of. We have 4 points in Holy Fire. This gives it a 100% chance to ignite, and 4 points in Immolate. Now the reason that this is nice setup is because not only do you get the 50% attack speed, not only do you get a movement skill out of it, and not only is it guaranteed to ignite the enemy that you teleport towards, but you get 60% more damage against ignited enemies for Rive. So basically what this skill does is, say the boss is coming up, you can use Smite, you teleport right on the boss, you now have a boost of attack speed, and it's already ignited, which means you're going to start doing more damage right off the bat. Alright, for Rive, we have Rive set up a little bit differently than last patch. With this patch, we didn't go in the full area. We ended up taking 2 points out of the area, so the third strike's going to be a little bit smaller, and we ended up putting it in to leech. So we put 1 point in execution so that you'd get more physical damage per ignite stack consumed from the third stack, and then we put 1 point in assassin sustenance so that you have 5% global leech. Now that's all sources of leech, not on hit, that's all sources of leech after you've used your third strike and you attack so fast. This just is a huge boost for your survivability, especially since you're dual welding and you take a bit more damage. This is going to help out. We have 2 points in Sever to have a 100% chance to ignite with the first strike, 1 point in Twisted Fangs for a 50% chance to ignite with the second strike, and 3 points in Savagery for 60% more hit damage against ignited enemies with all Rive hits. We have 2 points in Trampling Ahutzel, 2 points in Insidious for some base void damage, 1 point in Gaze into the Abyss for 100% more void damage. You will no longer benefit from attack speed on this tree for this skill, and that's why we don't go down, we don't get into the crit, we don't do anything with the bottom half. And then we have 2 points in the Abyss Gazes Back for 12 additional base void damage on the third strike. 1 point in Overwhelm for 70% more hit damage on the third strike, 1 point in Outburst for 40% more third strike area, and 3 points in Brutality for 90% more damage with the third strike. For Sigils of Hope, Sigils of Hope is usually a very expensive skill. Actually, it still is expensive, but Rive is going to generate you so much mana that you just don't care. So we're going to use it for as much void damage as we can get. We have 4 points in Empowering Sigils so that we get 24% more damage per sigil that's active. We can have up to 4 of them with this setup, so that's worth 96% more damage. We have 3 points in Decree of Flame, so that we get 3 added fire damage per active sigil. We have 4 sigils, so that will be 12 fire damage, but we're going to convert it. With 1 point in Sigils of Despair, that fire damage becomes void damage, so we are adding 12 void damage to our attacks. And then we have 15% increased void damage per active sigil. So not only do you get 12 more base void damage, but you get 60% more increased void damage. 1 point in Burning Sign for a little more ignite chance per active sigil, and 4 points in World of Power, so that if you summon a sigil for the next 3 seconds, you have 120% more melee damage. So a huge boost. Then we have 2 points in Iron Sigils for some more armor per sigil, 4 points in Enduring Hope to increase their duration to make them last longer, and that's just to unlock the 1 point in Tentagram so that you can have 1 more maximum. So you go from the 3 base to 4 total. For Anomaly, we have 1 point in Void Touched, 1 point in Time Bubble, 5 points in Decimation for 150% increased critical strike chance. This is going to help us get really close to 100% crit chance with Rive, especially since we didn't take the guaranteed crit inside of Rive Tree. You have to get all of your crit elsewhere, and we're wearing Undisputed in one hand, which means there's no crit chance on that. So our offhand has a little bit of base on it, but it has to be a sword, so you can't do like a Raider Axe or something that would give you a lot of that base critical strike chance. So you need your skills to do it, and we're going to be getting that between Anomaly and between Lunge. We have 5 points in Temporal Mastery, 1 point in Lingering Memory, 1 point in Time Lord, 2 points in Manipulation for 20% more attack speed, 1 point in Swift Rest to increase the cooldown recovery speed, 2 points in Time Eater for some leech, and 1 point in Void Maul for 50% increased health leech. For Lunge, Lunge is again giving us a huge amount of critical strike chance, gives us a little bit of damage, and we are invincible while we lunge, which is always nice. We have 4 points into the Fray, 3 points in Tactician, 1 point in Deadly Aim, 4 points in Forge On for that 100% increased armor, 1 point in Unstoppable so that you are invincible while lunging, 1 point in Initiative so that you'll get an initiative buff for 4 seconds, which will give you 40% more damage and 40% more crit chance. With 5 points in Avenger's Charge, it's now 240% more crit chance instead of just 40, and 1 point in Brigade, which gives you more armor per point of dex, which I don't think we have any, so you do not need to put this point here, but you can. I would actually remove it, especially if you don't have any dex, and put it into an extra charge with Lunge, so that in between like mono runs, if you're not getting to any mobs, you can stack up 2 charges and do a double bounce and get through monos a little bit quicker. Now, you get 240% crit chance from this skill, you get 150 from Anomaly, which is 390% increased crit chance just from 2 skills, which is huge, especially since you have 10% base crit, which means that just with these skills alone, you're at 50% crit chance. So now you just have to get some more on gear or somewhere else, and you can get really close to that 100% chance to crit. For passives, we have 30 points in the base Sentinel class. I believe we have exactly 30. We have 5 points in Overwhelm, 8 points in Juggernaut, 1 point in Relentless, 5 points in Armor Clad, 5 points in Time and Faith, 1 point in Gladiator so that we can now dual wield. This allows you to put a sword and only a sword type in the offhand. And then we have 5 points in Blade Master, which gives you 30% more attack speed when you have a sword and 30% more attack speed when you have an axe. And since we're wearing both, we actually get 60%. This is why our attack speed is so crazy on this build, is because the 60% is multiplicative attack speed and you get the benefit of both weapons. Probably an oversight, that's probably going to get changed. I don't think you're supposed to get both, but for right now, you are going to have some swift attacking, and you're almost going to feel like you're flurrying like the rogue. We have 15 points in the Paladin to unlock Sigils. We have 2 points in Defiance, 8 points in Conviction, 5 points in Flash of Brilliance, no points in the Forge Guard, and 66 points in the Void Knight, our mastered class. We have 5 points in Temporal Corruption, 8 points in World Eater, 8 points in Void Blades, 10 points in Sorrow and Steel, 1 point in Void Corruption, 12 points in Woe, 5 points in Singular Purpose, 3 points in Echoing Strikes, 10 points in Time Legion, and 4 points in Dread. For items and idols, we have 2 types of idols that we're wearing. Basically, you want 4 idols that give you increased Rive critical strike multiplier. Those are huge for the damage that you're going to be doing. And then for the suffix, any type of void damage, even void damage over time if you have it, although we're not really doing much of that. But here we have increased void damage, which is one type you can get, and then we have percent increased melee void damage, which rolls as high as 90%. So mixing and matching some of those back and forth, this one rolls up to 45%. The melee void ones are probably better as you are doing melee void, and so 90% is going to be better than 45% on the other type of idol. So getting 4 of these and as high rolls as you can, the critical strike gets as high as 45%. So you can get up to 180% Rive critical strike multiplier, and you can get up to 360% increased melee void damage. So that's really a huge boost for the Rive skill, especially since we're playing it as a void type. For our items, we're wearing one unique. We are wearing Undisputed because it comes with a massive amount of melee physical damage. And just because we're playing Void doesn't mean that that melee physical damage isn't going to help the skill out at all. Especially the third strike, which gets a lot of added damage effectiveness. I believe it's 150 or 200%, which is huge for it. We also get a bunch of our overkill damage, Leech's Health, which is great because we do a lot of overkill. Like a lot. And then we get 10% increased physical damage for each recent hit against the bleeding enemy. And since this axe itself has a chance to bleed on hit, only a 15% chance, you're most likely going to, especially against bosses, if you haven't killed them before 10 attacks, have that 200% physical damage increase. Then for our offhand, we have a Decidied Sword. We're wearing a sword and axe because you get the benefits from the passive trees. Like I went over, you get that 60% instead of 30% multiplicative attack speed. But we have added melee damage and melee critical strike chance. Chance to shred armor and chance to ignite on hit. You can put chance to bleed on here for either one of those suffixes. If you get a sword to roll with that, that's just as good as either of these, because that bleed is going to help you get the physical damage from Undisputed. For our chest, we have increased echo damage when a skill echoes. This is why the echo, if it echoes your third Rive strike, this is why the echo does so much more damage than you. Because normally the echo is going to do the same amount of damage, but now it has an increase, which means it's going to do a lot more damage. So echoes hit much harder with the third strike. That's why when you see us hitting the training dummy or a monster, and you see our third strike crit for 30k on a mob, and then you'll all of a sudden see a 45k crit right behind that, it's because the echo is doing more damage than you do. So it's a huge boost for a skill, and the Void Knight really benefits from that, and that's why it puts it above the Forge Guard and the Paladin in my mind, is because the echoes are so powerful. And then we have physical damage increase with bleed duration. Strength Vitality. On the helm, we have set physical, set necrotic, increased damage for an echo, and increased physical damage. We're wearing a Jade Amulet for the melee attack speed. We have Void Penetration, Physical Penetration, Health, and Elemental Resist. For our rings, we have 2 silver rings. We have set Fizz, set necrotic, Health, and Elemental on both of them. For our belt, we have set Fizz and set necrotic. That finishes those off and caps them for you. And then we have increased health and hybrid health. For our gloves, we have the Soul Embracers for the critical strike chance. We have melee speed, strength, health, and hybrid health for the boots. We have strength, increased armor, flat armor, and movement speed. And then we have a Radiant Crest for some more critical strike multiplier, more critical strike chance, strength, health, and elemental resist. On our character sheet, you can see that we are capped on all of our resistances. We have 30% armor. Remember, when we lunge here, this actually goes up. So we actually have 34% damage reduction thanks to Lunge, which we'll have on autocast so that you'll always have it up. None of our damages are really that high, but you can see that we have a 303% critical strike multiplier, and then we have all of the Rive critical strike multipliers on top of that. So Rive is getting close to a 500% critical strike multiplier, which is huge, and that's why it's doing such great damage. Without doing anything, we have 166% attack speed, but if we use Smite, you can see it jumps to 222. When you have your Anomaly active and you have Smite going, you get to 245%. If you don't want to run Lunge or Sigils of Hope, you can switch either one of those out for a Volatile Reversal, and you can get 36% more attack speed for each time that you've cast it in the last 4 seconds, and that 36% is multiplicative by the 60% in the attack speed, so you get actually closer to like 45% each time that you cast it, and I was getting up to 375% attack speed with it. But unless you're like in one spot like the arena or against a boss, it's not very fun to go all bouncy all around, but some people like it, so you can definitely switch out either one of these. If you switch out Lunge, you're going to have less critical strike chance. If you switch out Sigils, you're going to do a little less damage. Alright, for the skill rotation and how to use this, I like to put Smite, Anomaly, and Lunge all on autocast. Then I just manually cast my sigils whenever I see that I don't have 4 of them, or if it's been more than a few seconds. And then you just attack with Rive, and it's really that simple. You can see that we're critting here. We can get some 300k crits with the Shadow. Our crits do about 200k. But as you can see, the Shadow comes in behind. I just saw 350. I've seen it get as high as a 500k crit, which is just absolutely ridiculous. Alright, let's go ahead and get into some more gameplay.